scientific day, grade 5 students. For today, we're going to learn another lesson which we're going to use for our daily life. So I hope you learn something and apply it to our life. We will start first with our work plan, and let me read it to you. Science bits. Anyway, the science bits will be held in our synchronous class. So the next science bits reporter should be ready for for his or her report. Next will be recall or overview, discussion on male reproductive system, activity on male reproductive system, and thumbs it. So let us start with a recall of our lesson last week. We have learned about the changes that materials undergo, and these changes are what we call physical and chemical change. In physical change, materials change in form but not chemically identity. They change in shape, they change in phase, they change in um, and they change in size. While in chemical change, the material undergo chemical change, have this what we call chemical reaction that occurs, and there should be a new product formed. Example of this is burning wood, mixing vinegar and baking soda, rotting of banana, and fireworks. As you can see, there are evidences also that we could notice while chemical change is happening in a certain material, just like the presence of fire, the presence of light, the change of sounds and color, and of course, it is the presence of precipitates. What can you notice in this clip? So going an overview or having an overview with our lesson for today, what can you notice with this clip? Yes, very good. It means that all people or all human beings are intended to reproduce or um, has the ability of reproduction. When you say reproduction, it is the process by which organisms make more organisms like themselves. And take note that all living things reproduce. Human beings produce children. Plants and animals also produce. The part of the body that are responsible for producing offspring of or children is what we call reproductive system. Today we will learn about the reproductive system. There are two sexes which are included in reproduction. We have the male and female. But for today, we will talk more about the male reproductive system. Our learning target is I can identify the different parts and functions of the male reproductive system. Are you ready to discuss and learn about this? If you are ready, then I would like to remind you about this phrase, maturity is not measured by age. It is an attitude built by experience. Like what I always tell to you during our class, we need to be mature enough in accepting the fact that we are discussing about ourselves. It is normal for us to get annoyed or uncomfort with regards to what we are talking about, but it is okay. It is good that we are learning about this because it will give us a further understanding about ourselves, acceptance of ourselves, and also a further learning of what is really happening into our body physically. And so let us start discussing about the male reproductive system. Let me give to you the main purpose or the main feature of the male reproductive system. First is to produce and excrete sperm cell or testosterone. Another is to produce or maintain, transport sperm and semen, and of course to discharge sperm within the female reproductive system. Take note that male reproductive system is very useful or it's very important in the word reproduction because without the male reproductive system, female could not bear or could not give any life or child. Start with the testes or testicles, which produce sperm and testosterone. These two chemicals or things that the testicles or testes produce are very important. Why? Because testosterone is very responsible for the development of secondary sex characteristics for male. What are these secondary sex characteristics for male? It could be the broadening of their shoulders, their height, the pubic hairs which could be grown into some parts of their body, and of course in their voices. We notice that boys or males usually tends to have a deeper voice when they are having or growing up. While when we talk about sperm cell, it is to pass on as necessary biological information required for reproduction. So this biological information could be the chromosomes or the characteristics from the father itself or from the male. This sperm cell also penetrates and fertilizes the egg cell. The fact that there are two testicles, then these two testes or testicles are located in a sac of skin that is outside of your body that is considered or which is called scrotum. This scrotum is very essential and very important into the testes because it keeps the temperature of the testes slightly lower of the rest of the body or lower than the rest of the body, because this is very essential in the making or in the processing of the or storage of the sperm cell. That is what we call spermatogenesis. Or testicles consist of small coiled tube called seminiferous tubules. Immature sperms are produced in seminiferous tubules. In the testes, millions of sperms are produced. The Cooper's gland, the seminal vesicles, and prostate glands are active in producing fluids that serves as nourishment for the semen and lubrication of the duct. The fluids secreted by these glands and the sperm form a fluid called semen. You might be confused if the semen and the sperm cell is the same. No, because in a semen there are a lot of sperm cells produced or staying in that particular part or fluid. Semen is the seminal fluid which contains sperm cells along with other plasma fluids. So in other words, in order for the sperm cell to be living or to be alive and kicking, then it needs to stay or it needs the semen because the semen has the nourishments and other plasma fluids that helps the sperm cell live. The sperm cells undergo maturation and are stored in a very long, cold tube called epididymis. The sperm remains in the epididymis until they are matured. They leave the epididymis through the vas deferens, a long tube that leads upward from each testis into the lower part of the abdomen. Or testes connected or is in our male reproductive system, then there are also two vas deferens connected into the urethra, wherein urethra is the passageway for the elimination of urine and sperm when they are already matured to leave the male's body. So as the sperm leaves into the male's body, it is called ejaculation. So let us review of how the sperm cell is produced from the testicles and goes out through the ejaculation. So it is first produced in the testicles and then goes out through the vas deferens and then eventually proceeds into the urethra and poop, it's out already. So that is how the sperm cell goes out into the male reproductive organ. Talking about this and this topic, it is very sensitive to of course, male and female because it is already part of their body, but I would like to give you the value of this lesson that life is a series of natural and spontaneous changes. So there are changes that sometimes we understood on the small or short span of time, but and also there are also changes that we could not even trace its important. But take note that this change might be giving us the reason why we are still striving hard. So there are spontaneous changes that might happen to our lives, but we don't need to resist. That they only creates sorrow. Let's face reality or let reality be reality and let things flow naturally forward in whatever way they like. Just like Lao Tzu says to us. So change is the thing that we could not manipulate. What we can do is to embrace the change and let it be the reality and life. And to test what you have learned about our lesson for today, there is a package or there is an activity in this package that checks your understanding about male reproductive system. You will be answering why is it important to know the different parts and functions of male reproductive system? What was the fact that you learned about or learned and surprised you? And how do you deal with this matter as a matured student? And then you explain. And to check about the assessment or you assess yourselves about the lesson, we're gonna be using the thumbs it for our wrap up. That's the end of our discussion for this morning. I hope every one of you could understand or could give or have an idea about their, especially boys, about their male reproductive system. Thank you and have a scientific day. God bless.